have the fabulous Ashley. She is a fellow young Black 29-year-old female entrepreneur and founder of Melanin on the Map, which is an online travel community. And I cannot wait to just dive into your story. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you, girl. How are you?
So good. I'm so glad. It's so funny because, like, you know, you joined WWA, but like, this isn't even about that. This is more about like your story and the business that you've created, which is so freaking special and so wonderful to see. So I'm just so excited to really dig into your story and like learn more about how you even created this.
Yes, thank you. Well, one, thank you for having me. You know, I love you. You're amazing. But I mean, my story, like, where do I even begin? Like, from the beginning?
Yeah, let's start like before the business. Like, where, like, you know, before everything, how did it even start? Like, who is Ashley?
Right. Who is Ashley? Okay. So it all starts back in 1994. But, you know, I am Ashley. I'm the founder of Melanin on the Map. I am a travel obsessed entrepreneur. You know, I'm first generation American, so I kind of grew up with this bicultural experience of just being born and raised in New York, but having Caribbean background.
Yeah.
It kind of just put something in me where I just realized the importance of culture and language and food. And that is really what unites us more than anything. So fast forward to 2019 with all of my travel experiences going back and forth to the islands and to the States and then living in Spain for a little while, you know, I eventually decided that I really wanted to create a platform of people like me, people who love to travel and wanted new experiences for themselves and wanted to see the world and make money doing it. So that's kind of that was just the background and how we got here.
No, I love that. And it's so funny you say that because I'm like first generation, but British technically. So I was born in the UK, but my family's from Angola, West Africa.
Wow.
And yeah, like I, the same, just kind of always had that love for different cultures and backgrounds and seeing how like we could all unite. And like from an early age was traveling and I would be like, Mom, I should go spend a few weeks by myself in France.
Why not? Please. And honestly, like you grow up and I realized two different things. That one, not everyone thinks like this. Like, wait a minute, not everyone has that experience. But then also, not everybody thinks that they could even have that experience if they wanted to. Yeah. People are very stifled in the sense of like what they think they can really access when it comes to travel.
Totally. And like, I think it's too that just like a lot of different communities, it's just not prioritized, right? And so it's like, you know, I remember even when I was growing up and I was dirt broke, like college student stuff, I always prioritized travel. Like that was just the thing. I was like, well, if I have any money, I'm going to use it to go like, book a flight or something. And it's like, because we all use our money on something. It just depends on what you actually prioritize.
Yes. And I believe that. I think we all have our vice. You know, some people choose to party and spend money on alcohol and drugs. And I choose travel. Like when people, and I never understood it when people would like spend their last on a vice that doesn't do anything for them, like to me. But then again, who am I to judge? So I am the person that I'll spend my last on a flight or an experience over anything else.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Me too, girl. Okay, so, you know, did you go to school to learn how to like build a travel commute or like what did you major in? How did that all progress? Did you work something else before becoming an entrepreneur? Like, how did that happen?
Yes, I always kind of bypassed that part, you know? So I went to Howard University. I'm a proud graduate of Howard University, go Bison. And I studied communication. So my degree is in production and journalism. So that was my background before entering entrepreneurship. So when people think you have to have a business degree or all this knowledge or experience, you really don't. Because yes, I had a Howard degree. Yes, I had a degree in a completely different industry, but I was able to make it work for me. So I got my degree at Howard and then I went into the workforce as a producer and a journalist. And I worked at amazing companies of Essence and Ebony and Billboard and the Hollywood Reporter and all these great companies that I learned so many skills from, where I was able to put that into my business. And then, you know, I figured it out along the way.
Completely. And it's so funny you say that too, because like people think you need an MBA, right? Like, so a lot of people will go get an MBA because they want to start a business. And I'm like, I listened to a podcast episode the other day, and it's like, literally the best form of learning for a business is to go ahead and go start a business.
Yes.
You know, like you're not going to learn what you need to learn in school. It's kind of like even with real estate investing and stuff like that. You can read all the books, you can do whatever, but until you actually jump in and get started, that's going to be the best learning you can ever do.
Yes. So you have to. And a lot of entrepreneurship in the beginning is trial and error. It's always about the execution portion. And that's what I tell all our mentees, you know, I'm not special. I am an executor. Like I do the things that I say I'm going to do. You know, if I'm going to build a business, I'm going to build a business. I'm going to build a community. I've always been an executor. So I've always been that type of person that thought, okay, if God granted me the vision, there has to be a way to bring it to life. So I just went out there and executed, and I was just relentless with it.
I love that. Okay, yeah. So tell me about like some of the early days of building Melanin on the map. Like what did that look like for you? Were you building it on the side with your job, or did you just like jump right in? How did that look?
Yes. So I started Melanin on the map in 2019. So this was right before COVID. I mean, it was 6 months before COVID. There was a whole, it's been wild. But I started in 2019. I was working as a producer out in Los Angeles. And I just knew that this wasn't for me. Like I wasn't fulfilled. I've always enjoyed what I did because unlike a lot of people, I actually was in the field that I studied and I got my degree in and I was utilizing it, but I wasn't fulfilled in the sense that it wasn't mine. I knew that I wanted to create something that was mine. And I knew that travel was my overall passion amongst everything else. You know, it was the main thing that actually moved me in that sense. Like, I think the only way to really explain my love for travel is you hear when people, especially like entertainers and musicians, talk about music and they talk about how they see it, they see the color, and they talk about like how it makes them feel. If unless you're a musician or entertainer, it makes no sense to you.
Right.
How it feels. That is exactly how I feel about travel. Like it moved me. I genuinely feel impacted my personality.
Yes.
Everything is different when I am exposed to new cultures and new experiences. So I say all that to say, in those early stages, I wanted to feel that. And my job wasn't giving me that.
Yep.
So in came Melanin on the map. I started it while I was working. I was driving to my job an hour and a half. I was leaving at 7 a.m., going to my job for an hour and a half, driving an hour and a half back. So 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then building Melanin on the map on the side when I got home.
Yeah.
That's my life for the whole of 2019. Every single day. And that's when it started. And then fast forward to February of 2020, that's when COVID happened. And the crazy thing about COVID is I was already in the midst of quitting my job. I was going to go full-time entrepreneurship and it was already in the works. I put my 2 weeks in. And when I put my 2 weeks in, I went on a vacation. So they still paid me.
Yeah.
On vacation, they still paid me for that. Still got my PTO. And then I came back and I quit. And then COVID shut the world down. Everybody started working from home. I could have stayed working at that job for another year. But God had other plans for me.
Yes.
He had other plans. He wanted me to see what real entrepreneurship was like in the midst of a pandemic. And he wanted me to run a travel business. I'm one of his strongest soldiers.
Truly. Well, like, and it's like travel shuts down. Travel is not happening.
He trusted me.
It was like that test.
Yeah. He truly did. He truly did.
Oh my gosh. It's literally said show up or show out.
That's it. God said, okay, you want it, right? Go. And I was like, okay, let's do this. I guess.
Oh my gosh. Well, and it's so funny. So I kind of had this similar thing too, where it's like, my job was fine, right? There was nothing horrible about it. It's not like, yes, there are a lot of parts I didn't like that I've talked about before multiple times on this podcast and to other people. But like, objectively, the job was fine. I was comfortable, right? But like, I still had this inner knowing inside me that was like, this just isn't right? Like, this just isn't it. But a lot of people get kind of trapped within feeling comfortable, right? They're like, well, I mean, this is kind of the safe option. I feel comfortable. Like, what is some advice you would give to someone who's kind of like feeling like it's not it, but they just are also kind of, trapped by like the golden handcuffs to an extent.
Yeah, I think it's a knowing. I think that you learn so much about yourself in times like that. I think you really have to appreciate the season and listen to what is happening in that season. Yeah. During those seasons, and those seasons come more than once, right? It's not just a one-time thing. Because to me, every time if you're asked to evolve or change, that season comes. But I think it's really understanding and trusting that season. So thinking logically is going to be key in those seasons, because I think that when you really think about where you want to be in life, it's just a matter of little tiny choices, right? Yeah. So when you're in those moments, just think about those little tiny choices. Like, okay, is now a smart time for me to leave my job? Can I afford my lifestyle without it? How long can I sustain this? Being really practical. Like, I am not the girl who just says, move, like quit your job and run if you'll figure it out. Don't do that. Smart. Like, please, life is hard and unexpected things happen. So I think just be very practical and really set out a plan.
Yeah.
I really had a whole game plan of like, okay, I'm going to launch this business. If it doesn't work, then here's what we're going to do. But if it does, here's what we're going to do. And here's a timeline, and be realistic. But I think all in all, execution is going to be key across the board.
Completely. And I also just find like it's so much easier to jump when you have some sort of flotation device, right? Yeah. That could look like an X amount in savings. That could look like, if like for me, for example, I had a certain amount in savings and then I was also house hacking, right? So I had no living expenses. Yes. So I was like, a legit worst case scenario, I sit my behind in my house for the next year because I'm living here for free anyway.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Okay, so COVID happened. You're launching this business. What does that actually look like? Because now you've got like 50,000 followers on Instagram. You've got a thriving community. Like how many? Oh, and also before we even get into that, like what is Melanin on the Map for anyone who's curious and wants to know?
Yeah. So Melanin on the Map is a travel company geared towards the people of color. So what we do, we basically do two main things. We show people how to make money in travel. So creating brands, being content creators, influencers, agents of their own. And then we curate luxurious, affordable travel experiences. So all in all, we really wanted to create this platform for the travel lover that, again, wanted more, wanted to connect with like-minded people in a community, but also create experiences in real life that give you everything, outside of income, additional income, passive streams, community, all of it.
And I love that it is geared towards people of color because, like, as someone who has spent literally my entire life, so last almost 30 years traveling, I know, especially in certain places, like if you go to like Eastern Europe or different places, like you do not see people of color there. And you are very much a sore thumb. So especially as a solo female Black traveler, it's so wonderful that you kind of like curated this community that you can go explore all of these different locations and not feel like just like the odd one out everywhere you go.
And that is honestly one of the main reasons why I initially launched it in the beginning, because of those experiences that I had in real life, right? So I lived in Spain like about 10 years ago at this point, insane. But when I lived in Spain, I was like only Black person around. Like I was studying. So I lived in like a dorm. There was all Spanish speaking people. I took all my classes in Spanish, but it was just me. And then all of the other Black people around me also came from Howard University. So it wasn't like there were others around, and I really wanted to change that narrative. There are so many amazing Black travelers in the world. It's just we weren't at the forefront, We have a community of over 50,000 of them. So they're out there. They're on our trips. They're in our travel tribe. But we just wanted to showcase that.
Completely. And like, I also love because, during COVID, you did see kind of a surgence of like women, or not even women, but like people of color travelers, just with everything that was happening at the time. Right. So I guess, walk me through like what building a travel business throughout COVID was even like for you.
Terrible. It was stressful. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of sacrifice. It was a lot of, God, what are we doing? But I always knew that COVID was a temporary situation in the sense of people are never going to stop traveling. Real travelers will never stop. So the building the business through it was extremely hard because I had to convince other people that this was going to end. You know, that travel wasn't going anywhere. So it was really just a time of understanding that the highs and the lows of business, you know, it was a low in the sense that we had to actually stop our trips and our real in-person experiences. But it was a high in the sense that we really built a community of people who were ready to go once we were allowed to. So it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of pivoting. I think I had to change things up in my business model a little.
Like what?
Like the trips, we couldn't go on trips. So I wanted to highlight Black businesses that were affected. So we were highlighting Black businesses across the globe who were really impacted, and some recovered, some didn't. But at the time, we were able to keep them afloat with that. We were really big on highlighting those businesses in travel, but Black business across the board. And then, it was just an interesting time because I knew it was going to be over. I knew it was just a matter of how long is this going to last? But it was just, And it's crazy because everything is like a blur now, looking back at in 2024. I'm like, COVID is such a blur. Like, so much happened.
Oh my gosh. Literally. And it feels like it was just yesterday, but also like 10 years ago at the same time.
And it's like, how much? It's almost as if it wasn't real. That's why it was in a simulation and all these things. But because how do we live through that?
Well, and it's so funny because I feel like now a lot of our framework is like, pre-COVID, before COVID, and after COVID.
It's crazy. It's like, people used to do, it's crazy. Like,
oh my gosh.
Crazy times.
I love that. Okay. So, so you're curating this community. Are you mainly like doing this through social media? Like, how are you actually like building this community?
Yeah. So initially I built the entire community all through Instagram.
Okay.
We were just on a mission of finding Black travelers of color, minority travelers as a whole, but people who wanted more, who wanted not to just have fun, cute experiences, but they wanted more. They wanted that community, but then we wanted to show them that they can travel smarter and they can make money doing this. So it was all on Instagram. And then, of course, we've expanded, but initially it was just all Instagram.
Yeah, no, and it's really crazy. People don't realize, I think, the power of social media. And it's funny because even like years ago, I didn't really, like, I'd always been on social media and would post just things here and there. But like now really understanding how you can really run like multi-million-dollar, even billion-dollar businesses just through social media is
online.
Wild.
I mean, we met online.
Yeah, literally.
I think some of my best connections have come through social media. It is such a powerful tool. And I really wish people utilized it better. I think the people who are using it for good and are doing fantastic jobs at it, but I think it's so powerful. Like you can literally change your life from one DM.
Yeah.
One DM could transform your entire income generations after you. Social media is such a tool. It's such a tool.
No, I couldn't agree less. But so whenever you were transitioning into this full-time entrepreneurship, were there any like internal conflicts or anything like that in terms of like what you should be doing, right? Versus like, or were you in more of a community where, entrepreneurship was celebrated? Like which side of the coin were you on?
In the beginning, it was interesting because I'm first generation American with parents of Caribbean descent.
Yep.
And entrepreneurship is not stable enough, and I think for foreigners, they have this idea of the notion is just stability. That's all you focus on. It's just, and I get it. I understood it more and more as I, just continued out my journey through life. But so in my case, I wanted different. I didn't want what the generations prior to me had. I wanted more for myself and the generations to come after me. So I think at the beginning, it was hard for my parents to understand, but I've always been so independent and ambitious that everything I touched, I've always succeeded in.
Yeah.
I made sure of it. And if I didn't, then it wasn't for me. Again, that's not of God. That's not for me.
Yeah.
So I think at the beginning, it was just for them to, for me, it was just, okay, well, this is different. I don't have like a blueprint to follow. I'm really going to have to figure this out on my own. I think that was the struggle. But my parents, they knew I'll be okay. I'll figure it out. And I always have a backup plan. I have a college degree. I have work experience. So I was just practical.
No, completely. And I kind of went through the same thing with my parents. It's one of those things too where I've always been hyper independent.
Yes.
So hyper independent. I've always just kind of done my thing. And whenever I wanted to do it, I ran with it. Right.
Yes.
But it's like, and if I didn't actually want to do it, then I wouldn't do it. And that's something where you'd see it's like, oh, you try it for a little bit and then you let it go. But I always find that if it's something you know you were meant for, you're going to run into it with like guns blazing.
Yes. Yes. And it doesn't even feel like work. It shouldn't feel like work.
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about it. Like Melanin on the Map it transformed my life, but also it's just easy for me to do because it feels like it's like my child. Yeah. You know, like I want to see her grow and thrive. And I am so grateful for where she has grown to now. But it's fun. I love what I do. I'm really passionate about it.
As you know, I've been nomading for 2 years now, and I've been travel hacking for like a decade. And I am finally coming out with an awesome new guide called the Jet Set and Invest Playbook, where I am putting together all of my travel hacking knowledge and letting you peek behind the curtains on exactly how I've traveled to over 50 countries. And in the process, I've actually saved and made tens of thousands of dollars. I think we actually tallied up the last year, and we're above $50,000 saved and made through the strategies that I am putting in this playbook. Now, the Jet Set and Invest Playbook is the ultimate guide on how to become a digital nomad, use your home as your income stream, travel hack using credit card points, and fund your travel with ease. And the cool thing is that you don't even need to own real estate yet to leverage a lot of the tools that I'm putting in this guide. So if you're interested in getting on the waitlist for it and getting the absolute best price that it's literally ever going to be, either DM me the word Jet Set on Instagram or click the link of the show notes in this podcast and you'll be the first to know when it releases. And make sure to get on it quick because it is only going to be available for a limited time. So hurry up, peeps. Okay, now let's dive back into the show.
No, I love that. And so something that you said before too is, you were talking about how like the generations prior to you really valued stability. And that's so true. But like something I always tell my parents is like, you didn't work this hard for me to do the same thing that you did. You worked this hard for me to do even more, take it to the next level, right? Like, and that's how, and I get so excited because I think about the generations in front of me and like my children and my children's children. And there's like so much more that they're going to do because of what we're doing right now. We're just like constantly pushing the envelope.
Yes. No, 100%. I always think back to when my mother graduated. When my mother moved to America was the age that I graduated college. So that's always something that I always revisit because I'm like the age, like I can't even conceptualize the idea of it. Cause I'm like, by the time you got here, I already got a degree. I started a business. It's like, I've always felt like I had a head start because I was born and raised in this country and I was college educated. So I didn't feel like I could be lazy. I had to go and get everything that my ancestors and generations before me worked so hard for. So it can be easier for me and all the generations after me.
Yeah. So, I love that. And I feel that too. I was literally just with my parents a few weeks ago and we were at dinner and I asked them, like, what were you guys doing at my age? And it was so funny because my parents had like just moved to the UK after 2 or 3 years. We were living in government housing. My dad was like working in Angola and shuttling money back to us. I'm like, look how things are so different, and it's like an incredible thing to see.
Yeah. And I appreciate it. I'm so grateful that I see my life and my choices as a privilege, because I know my ancestors did not have that. Both of my parents are from third world countries, and I still have family there and I always visit. I'm always back and forth. It's just, I see it as a privilege and everything I do is always to make life easier for everyone attached to me. Whether it's in my tribe or the mentees or anyone attached to me, like I want people to look at my life and see that, it's possible. You just got to work hard and you have to execute. You just got to really, really work hard at it, but it's really possible.
Yeah, no. And that's what people, I think that's what trips people up sometimes. It's like, you've got to take action. You have to actually follow through with everything that you say you're going to do, because I don't really care if you start saying, I want to do this, I want to do this. You can say whatever you want, but if you're actually not taking the actions and the steps to go do the thing, it's just fluff.
It's just fluff. It's just fluff. And I really don't get along well with those type of people because I'm such an executor. But I understand that everyone's on a different journey. So some people are talkers, some people are doers. And I think as long as you are executing, your life can change.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've done like DISC assessments before, but there's like different, it's like kind of like a personality test, but there's like DISC. I forget what they are. I don't I'm just going to start rambling about it. I'm not going to go too in depth, right? Because I don't know it, but it's like D, you're probably pretty high D, which is like, you're like, okay, straight to the point, like, let's go ahead, let's go do the thing, right? And it's like, everyone just kind of falls on a different spectrum, but you need each part of it. And the funny thing is, like, the amount of people in the world who are actually high D is not very large. It's actually like one of the smallest percentage. But I think that's why, it's so easy for people to kind of not take action because it's actually like not in their trait. But for anyone who is ready to go do that, it's like, you just got to go get started. And I do think that people can fluctuate as well a little bit in between. It's really just about like who you get yourself around to.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's really good to think about. I feel like I need to dig deeper on that. I'm for sure that's the high D, for sure.
Yeah.
But
and it's interesting too, because it's like, especially like, I think you probably do the same, but I surround myself with a lot of entrepreneurs, real estate investors, all of that. So we're all pretty high D on the spectrum, right? But that is not the norm. Like that is...
No, I think the more that I got into entrepreneurship, that's when I really started to surround myself, because I understood like you really do have to be around like-minded thinkers.
Yes.
Because of that. Because other people, depending, may not understand, or it's going to stunt your growth sometimes, depending on who you're communicating with. So that's good.
No, completely. So I guess tell me a little bit more about, like, you said that people can kind of come in. You've got the retreat side of things, so people can go on retreats. But what are the other types of things people can get involved with in Melanin on the Map?
Yeah, so we have one side, which is our community. So we have a full 600 plus travel tribe of active travel professionals. So every single person in our tribe all has their own independent travel agencies. So if you're thinking about, maybe I want to launch a business or have an agency of my own, this is the opportunity. So we do coach our tribe members on how to build and grow and monetize. They host group trips of their own. They have different communities of their own. But all in all, that tribe is the money maker. So people who want to make money in travel. So we have that side of business. Then we have our mentees. Those are the people who really want to build similar brands to Melanin on the Map, but say you are in real estate or in wellness, if you want to really create a full brand, so multiple income streams and things of that nature, we have that for our mentees. We have our quarterly, or a little bit more than quarterly now, group experiences, which are our group trips and retreats. So some are geared more towards culture and experience, like we have for Kenya coming up. And then others are just a turn up time, like our coming experiences. So it really just depends. But we do have our in-person experiences. I think that's one of my favorite parts, because I love to meet our people. Our community is growing so quickly. So there's a bunch of things here.
I love that. No, and I'm so excited. Like, I know we already kind of talked about it a little, but 2025 is the year for me to like really start bringing in more travel into the WWA community. So got to chat with you, see what we can do.
That's what I was doing.
I love that. So I guess what is, throughout your journey of building Melanin on the Map and through entrepreneurship, what's like one of the biggest challenges, really, like other than COVID, obviously, but like maybe it could be in the business or it could be personally, like, are there any like challenges that you face that you feel like have made you stronger going forward?
I think entrepreneurship has taught me how to be a better leader. And I think that was something that I really had to learn along the way, of just like hiring the right people, or, having the right people. That has always been my biggest struggle in entrepreneurship.
Oh my God. It's everyone's. It's not just you.
Right people who get it,
Yes.
get it, who execute, who can move.
Mhm.
That has always been the biggest struggle. But I think a lot of it has been trial and error, really understanding my flaws and how I delegate things, you know?
Yep.
So I think just that whole, the leadership, the delegation, the getting the right people who understand it, who could stand the test of time, someone that can sustain with you in business. I think those are the things that I wish somebody informed me on prior to entrepreneurship in the beginning. But the good thing is I made a lot of mistakes in like my first year. So now I know. Like my very first couple of years, that's when I was just, figuring it out for real.
Completely. Yeah, I know something that I've really started to incorporate is not just the personality stuff, but like human design stuff, just in anyone that I'm hiring to really understand like, okay, what kind of a human are you? And are you actually going to be a good fit for the team right now? Because I think the struggle that I originally got into at the beginning as well was like, oh, I just want to bring on people that I like. But that doesn't quite work. Like there are specific tasks and specific things that you need done. And not every person is going to be a great fit for the job, right? Like obviously you do want someone that you enjoy being around, but it's like really, for me, it's really like putting the right people in the right seats is huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yes, you do. And then you have to also understand that everyone is not going to be someone that comes with you forever. Mm-hmm. That's also understanding that this can work for this side of this business of where we're at here at this level for right now. It doesn't always, and that's okay. I think that was one of my hardest struggles too, is just figuring out when to let certain people go.
Yeah.
It's like, we're taking things to another level and everybody can't go. That's one of Oprah's quotes, allegedly.
Oh, I love that though. That is so good.
Everybody can't go. You want to take everyone with you. Michelle Obama says it. Everyone can't go, but when you reach certain levels and things, it's a struggle. It's difficult to understand, let alone express.
I think especially if, I try to not call myself a people pleaser anymore, more that sometimes I have people pleasing tendencies, right? But getting really good about putting those boundaries in. But like, if you are someone who struggles with that, that's probably going to be one of the most challenging, if you are wanting to start a business, it's probably going to be one of the most challenging things for you is like having those hard conversations.
Yes. Yes. And you have to be honest and raw and have uncomfortable conversations as an entrepreneur. And I think all of these things are things that you just kind of have to be thrown in the fire to understand. You have to, it's like, I have to, because it's like everything's on me. Yeah. And that's the thing when it's your business and it's your brand and you're the face, it's on you. There's no boss you can say, oh, well, she did it. It's on you. And I think people like the glamorized parts of entrepreneurship. They don't want to talk about the hard parts where you have to come out of pocket and money gets lost. And you don't like those parts are not as...
And taxes are a lot.
Taxes. Oh my goodness. Craziness I'm dealing with my taxes.
Yeah.
And people don't talk about that. Like entrepreneurship is not as fun as people make it look like.
Totally.
And it's worth it.
So if you like have a mission, right? And if you have something that you like, I think it's once again, it's that inner knowing. And like when you know, you're also not going to quit, right? Because it's going to test you. It's going to, it's so much easier, right? To go back to the corporate job and just do the same thing over and over again. But if you know inside you that this just isn't it, that's when like you see people jump into entrepreneurship, but it's like you have to have that mission and that deeper why behind you.
Yes. And I think that deeper why is something that everybody doesn't have, and that's why I know entrepreneurship isn't for everyone, because that's self-accountability of I'm going to wake up and do it without someone telling me to. Yeah. That is what makes you an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There's no one clapping for you saying, you did it. That is
I know that's like, I think it's always the confusing. It was weird for me. It's like you quit your job, right? You're like, I'm going to give him my 2 weeks notice. And you walk out that door and you're like, oh, so no one's like waiting
so now what? So now I remember vividly when I quit my job after this whole COVID thing. I quit my job and then COVID happened and all of this. I quit my job and I remember I was driving to my house and I was like, what is now? Well, what happens now? Like there's no wake up at this time and drive at this time. You have to figure that out. You have to create those routines. Entrepreneurship is not easy because no one's telling you what to do.
No. And I remember literally like Like, yes, mentorship, so important. Yeah. But like, I remember my first month out, I would be like, I'm an early bird. I wake up at like 5 or 6 in the morning. I'm like, go do my thing. But then I suddenly like didn't have to wake up early. So I would literally go to bed at 3 p.m., wake up at 11. I'm like, what is happening? Like literally what is happening? And like finally after a few months, you kind of like start to get back into your routine. But that like, especially if you've been like living on a routine since forever, right? Like you went to work, you went to school for gosh knows how many years. And I did grad school too. So it's like literally my entire life, I was on a strict schedule. You know?
Right. And then
oh my gosh.
And then now you have to figure it out. You really have to figure it out. Like, people don't talk about that. Like entrepreneurship, I wouldn't trade it for anything, but it taught me a lot about myself, about what I actually want, what I actually enjoy. There are things that I genuinely know are just not for me. Like waking up early unnecessarily when there's not involved. Like when there's not a flight or a hotel to get to. It's not for me.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I'm like, I don't care. I want to be up at 5 or 6 in the morning. I like being up. I like going to bed early. I'm like a 9 p.m., 10 p.m. bedtime girly.
Yeah. Because for me, the difference for me with that is that I wake up at like 6:45, 7 a.m. every day without an alarm, right? Without an alarm.
Same.
So I just wake up. But to me, it's not about like when you wake up. Again, it's about how productive you are within the hours that you're awake.
Well, and so my problem is if I wake up at like 7, I feel like the world is already happening around me and I get so distracted. And so I love having those early hours because there's nothing to distract me and there's no one to distract me. And that's where I get like the things in my day. This is something I know I'm personally working on is I get very reactive as the day goes on. There's like a fire to put out here and thing to do here. But if I'm up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to 7 or 8, undisturbed, productive time because no one's reaching out to me. I'm like, yes.
Right. Yes. No, that makes sense. And when I moved to LA, I did start to do that because I felt behind. Like by the time I wake up, I'm like, wait a minute, it's like noon over there.
Yeah.
When I moved to LA, I did start to do that. I set my alarms early and things. And then to me, it's just as long as I'm productive with the hours that I have, like I don't like overpacked my day because when I was in my very, very early stages of entrepreneurship, that's what it looked like. Every second of the day was accounted for because I worked so hard to build this business. But now I'm trying to be more soft and gentle with my people.
Talk to me in like a year or two. I'm gonna be there too.
Yeah, because it's like you have to work so hard. Like I did. People say like overnight success and all these things of like they don't know me, but I hear that about other people. It's like, no, that's impossible. People don't understand the commitment it takes to build a business from scratch, from nothing, with no blueprint.
Especially a profitable business, right? Because there are a lot of businesses out there and they are not profitable.
Yes, a profitable business with the receipts of what you've done and like who you've helped and the brands you've built, and it is mind-blowing. And God is amazing.
Completely. I love that. So, I want to quickly transition. So I know you're starting to think about real estate investing. That's why you even joined WWA. So tell me a little bit about like what you're envisioning for your future within the real estate investing space.
Yes. So I'm so excited. And again, thank you for all of your work and all of your messages. You're amazing. Like y'all, she's the girl. She knows what she's doing. But getting into real estate has always been the end goal for me. So it's interesting that like I'm starting it now.
Yeah.
That's how I saw myself retiring. I've always wanted villas internationally. Yes. I wanted to have property here in the States. I always saw the value in ownership. They say God's not making any more land, get a piece, right? So I've always saw the value in it. And now I'm just seeing that I can do it at a way younger age that can set myself up from now. So that's the next steps. I am getting my first investment property this year.
Woo, woo.
I'm so excited. I told myself this is going to be my 30th birthday gift.
Yes.
So I'm getting my duplex this year. I initially wanted to go out of country to start, but I was advised to start here. So I'm going to start here. And then, we're just going to go from there.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So, and the advice that comes to start here, it's more just, it's easy, right? Like you can get in within the next month or two into a property here. You're not waiting for a year or two or something for construction to finish out or like figuring out different loan options in different countries where it does take a little bit longer. So you can get something that's already cash flowing now for very little down, especially since you can technically be remote. And then use that money to just funnel into more real estate.
Well, that's it. That's the game plan, because how I see myself just like buying every year. Like I didn't realize how it's not easy because it's a lot that goes involved, but how the process could be if you know what you're doing. So that's where I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited because I know I always wanted to get into it, but then now it's like, it's really happening. So I'm like, I'm about to buy a house. I'm about to buy a new house. Like, what's going on? Like, this is so much, but
I know, like Forbes 30 under 30, where you at?
I was so excited. I'm so excited. And it's like the perfect beginning to my 30s. It really is.
Okay, well, fabulous. This has been so lovely, Ashley. So we're going to go into the final 3 interview questions that I ask every single person. So number 1, what does your perfect ideal day look like?
Oh, my perfect ideal day. I will wake up around 6:45, 7 o'clock with no alarm. With no alarm. I don't need alarms to wake me. So I will start my day with some form of prayer or meditation every single day, followed by journaling. But I'm not as committed every single day with the journaling part, but the prayer and meditation for sure. So I would start my day. I'm really big on slow mornings. Like I don't want to really get in motion until maybe, because I start my day at 7, I feel like 7 is early. So 7 until like maybe 9-ish motion.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
I would just have a very slow morning. I like to pray, meditate. I'll play music depending on my mood. So I'll probably make some tea, very soft, very, very soft. Then I try to either work out or go to yoga. I'm recently getting into Pilates, so one of the 3. So I'll do that. And then I will start working around 9-ish. It depends on the day though, because my days really do vary. So some days are dedicated to my mentees where I actually have like one-on-one sessions with them. Other days, we may be focusing on different trips that we have coming up, depending on the quarter that we're in. So making sure that that's up and running. Other days will be more so geared towards people who want to join the team, because I do make it a point to actually speak to all of our people who come on board. I don't want to come on board and never hear from anyone. So I do make it a point to do that. So my mornings, I try to get like as much work done before the afternoon. Again, this is a perfect day.
Yes. Well, and I love that your perfect day also does include some work, right? So for me, for example, I'm the same, where it's like, even if I'm traveling and stuff, depending on the travel, sometimes it's vacation travel where I'm like, turn everything off, bye, right? But then other times, like I enjoy what I do so much that it's like, I want to tap in and I want to like check in on people and I want to be a part of the business, so.
Yeah, and I love it. I genuinely love what I do. Like you said, it doesn't feel like work. When I talk to you, I'm like, we're doing this because I'm so passionate. And because I've worked so hard on this business, I don't even see it not being a part of my everyday life. Like it's become a part of my routine, So I do that. I do some work. It depends on the day. It really does. I would probably do it like a cute little spa day. I'm a self-care fanatic.
Girl, same.
Spa membership. I have
massages,
everything. So some type of facial massage, some type would have to be a part of my day. I would, I guess. It's such an entrepreneur answer, because that does not sound like an average day for a lot of people. But
oh my gosh, no, I love that.
That's pretty.
I love that so much. Okay, question number 2. What is your mantra?
My mantra is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Ooh, I love that.
I really believe that. I have tattooed on my wrist here 413 for Philippians 4:13. because I believe that there's nothing that I can't do. You know, I really put God in everything that I do, from my relationships to my friendships to my business. And I believe that there's nothing that I can't do without his guidance.
Well, and that's what I tell everyone. Like, there's just this common theme of like, you have to be so certain that you can figure it out. Like, you need to believe in yourself more than any other person. Doesn't matter what happens, what comes forth. You need to believe in yourself the most.
Yes, but you do. And that's why I think entrepreneurs, they have to have a little bit of crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Have a little bit of delusion. You have to be delusional to be a successful entrepreneur. You do. You have to.
Oh, completely.
My vision, the world needs this, you know, and you have to be relentless. I'm going to get this done no matter what. So, yeah, entrepreneurs are cut from a different cloth. They really are.
I love that. Okay, final question. What does wealth mean to you?
Wealth means peace of mind.
Yeah. It
means ease. It means not having to worry. It also means not having to worry for generations to come. Mm-hmm. That is what wealth means to me. That's why I launched the business. That's why I'm so focused on making sure that I am really intentional about where the business goes, getting the properties, really investing in my future, because I know that wealth is not something that's talked about in the Black community. And if I am the chosen one to do that in my family, then so be it. But
absolutely,
it's peace of mind.
I love that. Well, Ashley, where can people find you? Where can they find Melanin on the map? What's the best way for them to reach out?
Yes, well, I am on all platforms, but I'm the easiest to reach on Instagram. So Ashley_Milani, Milani, or you can just type Ashley McDonough and Melanin on the map on all social platforms. So hopefully we see you on a trip or one of our upcoming retreats. But yeah, we'll see you.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. This was so fabulous. And I know you're going to inspire so many to just get after it.
Thank you. You're amazing. And join her community, y'all. She is the girl.
Thank you so much for listening to Wanderlust Wealth Show. Now, don't forget to follow the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you love this episode, it would literally mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or a family member, or literally like anyone off of the street. Like right now, go ahead, share it so you don't forget, or post it on social media and make sure to tag me. I love seeing what you're listening in on and what you resonated with, and I'm just so freaking thankful for you. I'm so freaking excited for you. I love you, and don't forget, life really doesn't have to be hard.